The order of events is basically which foods and which types of foods fill you up more or less quickly. And I want to give you an example of what I mean. Foods that are higher in fat, whether you're talking about salmon or whole eggs, or could be nut butters, could be olives, whatever it is, higher fat foods, they tend to fill you up more over the long term, but it takes longer to get full because they're slower digesting. On the other hand, carbohydrates, more starchier carbs, they fill you up more quickly, but not as much for the long term. So that could be bread, pasta, cereal. They'll fill you up very fast, but not as much down the road several hours later. So with this knowledge, you can set yourself up to make sure that you're not starving or not hungrier than you need to be. And I want to clarify, when you're in a calorie deficit for a consistent period of time, you're gonna be hungry. You are, that's part of the process. You shouldn't be ravenous. You shouldn't be starving, but a little bit of hunger, that's normal. And it's actually one of the questions I ask my clients, my inner circle members, if they've supposedly been in a deficit for 4-8 weeks and they're not making any progress with their pictures, their measurements, their weight, their clothing, I'll ask, how's your hunger on a scale of 1 to 10? And if they come back and they say, you know what, like, I'm really not hungry at all, I'm like, odds are you're not being very consistent or you're inaccurately tracking how much you're eating. And it's really important to remember, because again, a lot of marketers are gonna come at you and say, this diet, you'll never be hungry. You can eat as much as you want and you'll never be hungry. It's like, that's bullshit. If you're in a deficit, you're gonna be pretty hungry, at least some of the time. And by figuring out how we can structure your meals and what order you can put your food, it's just one helpful way to stay more full and be not as hungry as you might have been otherwise. So I'm gonna give you 2 different strategies here. The first one is just overarching for your meals. When you're trying to lose fat, obviously you're gonna wanna have more fruits and vegetables. So for me personally, when I'm starting out a meal, I'll first have a big salad. And it doesn't always work. I don't want a salad for breakfast, Jordan. Do I have to have a salad before my omelet? No, you don't have to fucking have a salad if you don't want to. But generally speaking, the more veggies you eat, the more full you're gonna get. That's how it works. I like to start with some type of a salad. For me, I like Israeli salad, cucumbers, tomatoes, onions, garlic, olive oil. It's amazing. And notice, a little bit of olive oil, very high fat. I put that at the very beginning. It's not gonna fill me up. You have to be very careful. You have to understand that a little bit of olive oil goes a long way in terms of calories. So just put a little bit on there at the very beginning with a lot of vegetables, because I know that's gonna fill me up, and the olive oil, it's gonna be slow digesting and fill me up down the road. Also, maybe put some olives on there as well. Those will also help fill me up. Olives for me are one of my all-time favorite hunger quenching foods or hunger blunting foods, whatever that is. Actually, I talk about that in my personal recommendations later in this video. Then from there, protein. I know you've probably heard it a million times. Protein is the most filling of all macronutrients. So I always go from fruits and vegetables, a little bit of fat, to protein. And then from there, that's when I'll start to incorporate more carbs. And by the time I start to get to my carbs, you'll start to feel more full. You'll start to feel the fat from earlier digesting, sitting in your stomach, so that now you can have your carbs, and by the end of the meal, you'll be really full. You'll be good to go. And for me, this order of events has helped a lot make calorie deficits suck less, all right? Still, you will be hungrier in general, but it works really well to suck less. Also, second strategy here, one thing that has worked very, very well for myself, my inner circle members, my clients, is if you're trying to lose fat, and also if you're struggling to hit your protein intake, one thing you can do is have a protein shake before every meal, or maybe have a protein shake before 1 or 2 meals in your day. For me personally, I'll just take a scoop of protein, some almond milk or water, and I'm good to go. That way, I have that before my meal. So I fill up, the fluids, the liquids will help fill me up a lot. I help reach my protein intake, and by the time I get to the end of my meal, I'm much more full. So if you're struggling with your protein and or hunger, it's a really good way to both fill up and hit your protein intake.